Welcome, and can you see Evan okay?
Yeah, but now I can't get the camera to go back. I'm gonna log back out and log back in real quick, and it'll fix it. I
Okay, you
know
go
it
for it.
will.
Now he's gonna log on. And he's be like, I can't see Evan.
Hey, if you shop at Home Depot, this is a no brainer. Our free BuildSOS program unlocks verified discounts, often up to 30%, plus access to exclusive deals on tools and materials. It is especially useful for contractors, handymen, and DIYers who buy regularly. No fees, no gimmicks, just better prices at checkout. All you have to do is click the link below or in the show notes that says Build SOS with Home Depot to start saving. Welcome to Disaster Diaries. I'm Evan Farmer. Today's guest wasn't a victim of a natural disaster. Instead, Ron Brown lost his home in a fire when a plumber's torch inadvertently overheated some hidden insulation at his house in Greater Dallas-Fort Worth. Here's Ron with the rest of the story.
My house recessed his back so he couldn't see where he was working, and he popped a hose bib away from the brick. And when he did, between your brick and your stud wall, there's an air gap. It was just like dragging on a cigarette. My house just went woof. And I actually
Wow.
came down the cul-de-sac and pulled in the driveway, pulled in around. I got a rear entry garage, pulled in the garage. And as soon as I opened the door, I smelled smoke. And I looked up. I started seeing flames come out of the corner of the fireplace there. I started screaming for him, and I couldn't find him. And it dawned on me, I was like, well, I got to get these vehicles out of this house. This house is going up. So I moved the first truck up to a neighbor's, ran back, got in the second truck, and then it dawned on me I got 3 dogs in the house. So I take the second truck, just moved it next door, hop the fence, run in the house through the garage, and we had a long hallway. And as soon as I opened up that back door, the door disappeared. It was black abyss. And all I could see was about a foot above the ground, just an air pocket. So I walked down the hallway to where we kept the dogs in the utility room, and I let them out. One of them ran out the garage. The other two ran into the den. So I had to
Ooh.
drop on my knees, crawl in there, get those 2 dogs. When I came out, there was a lady standing there that had 1 dog, and she goes, hey, can I take those 2 dogs? And the second story collapsed. And I was like, she goes, you're lucky you got out of that house. I said, yes, ma'am. And she goes, well, what do you want to do with these dogs? I said, can you kindly just put them in that truck over there? I said, they'll be okay. And I just literally let the tailgate down on my truck. Somebody brought me a cold beer, and I sat there and drank it. And all I could do was sit there and reminisce all the memories.
On the tailgate of your truck, drinking a beer, watching the house burn. That to me is the most rock and roll thing I think I've ever heard.
Well, my middle daughter did not agree. She walked up to me and goes, really? You're going to treat this like a bonfire? And I looked her square in the face and I go, what can I do?
I have to just chime in and say the same exact experience for me as I watched my house burn. And I was just like, well, there goes everything. And a strange calm kind of almost came over me then, and then a little bit down the road as, it hit me. But I don't know if you experienced this. I hesitate to say this because I'm not trying to belittle sentimentality of things, but there was a little bit of relief. I had been clinging to things and had been giving importance to things, even the sentimental thing, even the photos that I lost, that I don't think warranted that level of care when, and luckily you got the dogs out. For me, it was my family. But man, I was kind of relieved. I was like, well, shoot, all that's gone. I can kind of start my life now. Well, did you have
It,
anything similar?
that's exactly, I don't want to get into a spiritual religious thing, but it was almost like an answer to prayers because that house was just an arbitrage for me. And even though I almost had it paid off, um, you know, my personal life wasn't in the best, a nasty divorce and everything else, and arguing over that. And then, and I actually got accused by a neighbor that is a petroleum engineer that I started it, that it was arson.
Oh,
And that was the day it was burning. And the sheriff actually told him to leave, that he couldn't make any comments because he wasn't even on property. Well, by Friday, the fire, um, inspector, whoever came in for the insurance company, he already determined his accidental fire started by the plumber, and my insurance was paid out by April 16th, except for my content. But and unfortunately, I was $1 million underinsured. But in a way, it was a blessing, because if I would have been insured to what they wanted, or maybe over, I would still be in litigation with the insurance company right now, and the only people would be winning would be the lawyers.
A lot of insurance companies are looking for an arson situation or plausible excuse to call it that or make it, and so they will actually to some degree come in and really need to rule that out. And you had a neighbor screaming some ludicrous notion which does not help the situation.
No, it doesn't.
And did the insurance company ever try to dig into that and turn it into an arson situation? Because then they're off the hook.
I don't think the insurance. I mean, it was very obvious the way the fire started, you
Right.
know, and thinking back now, the insulation I had in that house, it was a blown insulation. That was actually that was a, it was actually a fuelant for the fire. That's what caused the fire to really burn as hot as it did, was the insulation.
When you built back, did you take any of those things into consideration? Because it seems like you've got a new house now.
No, I don't. I mean,
Oh, okay.
I mean, I was very blessed. I live on 2 acres, and I had a 1,500 square foot barn dominium that I had heated and cooled and had it partitioned out like a mother-in-law or pool house with a full kitchen and a bath. And then the rest of it was my shop. Well, when my house burned, whatever I was able to salvage, I put in a mule box, out on my driveway, moved all my shop equipment into it, and then basically I'm living in the barn.
yeah. Wow.
Wow.
So
But,
then,
back to what you originally said, sort of to circle back, the relief, yeah, I'm 100% debt free at a very young age, and that is, that's pretty amazing.
has disaster preparedness been on your radar at all?
To prepare for a fire, I don't think you ever can. The only thing I can say that saved me was video. Annually, I would go through and video everything in the house, every closet, open every drawer. And
Mm.
then I would take that video and I'd email it to myself. So that way, no matter where I was at, I could always have access to it.
That's brilliant. Well, Ron, you said something earlier that I was about to ask you, how you were underinsured in your insurance and how that was ended up being a good thing because it would have been tied up in litigation. So are you saying that the financial loss that you took, is this just you being positive, or did something good actually come from being
Well,
underinsured?
I'm a miser anyway when it comes to expenses. I'll figure out a way to get it as low as I can. Um, and in December, I wrestled with my homeowner's insurance. And I told the agent, it came back, I think the previous year, my premiums more than doubled. All right. It was like a 65% increase. And I called him and said, hey, I don't have that in my budget. I'm not doing that. And I said, well, a third of the cost of the home is the foundation, right? And he goes, yeah. I said, okay, if a tornado comes through, it's not going to suck the foundation out of the ground. If it burns, I still got the foundation. I said, whatever the value it's coming in at, knock a third off of it, and that's what I'll insure it for. So that's what I did. Okay.
Looking back, is there any, advice you would give to anybody else, or best practices? Do this, don't do this.
The one thing that I did not like, and it caused a lot of problems, I was sitting there asking the fire department, I was like, why aren't y'all putting water on it? Well, I'm in the county, so the closest fire hydrant to me was 1,500 feet. And I live on a cul-de-sac at the back of it, and they'd already pulled in a pump truck and emptied it. Well, all the scavenger renovation companies had it blocked where they couldn't get the second pump truck in.
The
And
scavenger renovation companies, so they showed up with the fire.
oh, they were there before the fire department was there.
We've been saying for years that there's only two type of people that show up and drive towards a disaster. Those are trying to help, and those are trying to take advantage, right? So it seems like you have skirted the whole unethical contractor problem, right? Because you're your own GC, you're not rebuilding right now. But what are your thoughts on that? I mean, is that something that you've experienced in the past in other ways, or when you
Well, I
do?
mean,
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, I have never felt that much pressure in my life. To have 20 different companies hammering you, and they're wanting you to sign a contract. And I just said, and even to do the demolish. And then once you sign that, you're locked into them for the rebuild. And, I've heard all these horror stories. And I was like, guys, I don't need y'all to do anything except get out of here.
If you were to come across somebody that lost their house literally 5 minutes ago, what would you say to them?
I'd tell them to take 3 deep breaths, say the Lord's Prayer, and tell him exactly what you want at that moment and be very specific. And then let it go.
Everything can be replaced, but not the people and the pets and the loved ones that we care about. So I mean,
Well, I will say this: a catastrophe, of a fire, a flood, a tornado, a hurricane, whatever, it'll put a strain on a family.
Is it, in your experience, a strain over different ways of processing loss or different ways of deciding how to move forward from that point?
I know I could do it over again, but I think from a child's perspective, where they didn't build it, but they were in it, they're sort of at a loss. They're like, well, will I ever attain that? They don't know.
it's not just always about moving on and putting it behind you. Everybody else has their own pace and their own healing process.
Yeah, I mean, I lost my watch. It was in my master closet, and I knew exactly where I laid it. And when the fire department came in with that pump truck and they blew all that water, they just destroyed our master closet. It was on the front of the house, and above it was just attic and insulation. So that was the hottest part of the fire. And so that was Tuesday. I spent all day Wednesday and Thursday just scouring that closet, could not find that watch. And Friday, when the fire inspector came in, when he's finished, and I was asking him, I said, what do you think? He was telling me, yeah, the plumber started it. It's obvious. Da, 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 da. Because you'll have a report by Tuesday. And I said, by the way, I lost a watch in my closet. I can't find it. So we walk in there and he goes, where was it? I goes, right here. And he had like tongs or something. And he moves it around in rubbish. In about 3 minutes, he goes, here it is. Picked it up and handed it to me.
Was the watch salvageable or was it melted?
Oh, the watch was perfect. All I did was rinse it off and put it back on. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's a watch commercial right there.
yeah, there it is right there.
Oh, there it is. Look at that. That's great.
Well, all right, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. It's been my pleasure.
Ron.
Thank you for inviting me.
Sounds good, Ron. Appreciate it.
All right, y'all have a good one.
Thanks, Ron. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
If you want the full, uncut conversation with today's guest, including a lot more insights, you can find it on the Disaster Diaries podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Hey there, just a reminder that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not legal, financial, or insurance advice. Disaster Diaries and BuildSOS do not endorse any specific products, services, methods, or guest viewpoints discussed here. So, please always consult qualified professionals for decisions related to disaster preparedness, construction, or insurance.